In this bespoke box lives the £15 8K killer drone. Somehow this thing flies very impressively, but also gargantuanly. And by 8K, it's certainly not referring to its resolution. In fact, it's referring to its kill streak on me.
Straight at me. Right, that's not good. Right.
Besides its industry-leading resolution, it boasts 3-sided obstacle avoidance sensors.
Goodbye.
A 3-kilometer range, dual lenses, long battery life, a controller, and of course a custom app for your flying. So let's get on with it, shall we? It comes in this little pouch, which, to be fair, you can't be mad at. We get 5 stars so far. Inside we have the units, the drone and the controller. The drone has no weight to it, as you pretty much expect, but she does look like she's gonna do some damage in the sky. The controller certainly has a bit more weight to it. There's a manual inside the case, which of course, if you're a real hard bastard, you're not going to look at. And you've got a bag where there's some extra propellers and a micro USB cable to charge the battery. The controller takes 3 AA batteries. It has joysticks, it has various buttons, all of which you typically expect on a drone controller, as well as a mount for your smartphone. However, there is no cable to get into this controller, which is going to be potentially a problem later on. And as for the drone, there are what seem to be 2 buttons on the front. However, they are not. The propellers are solidly constructed, to be fair, and actually quite inspiring. She immediately feels very bare bones. In fact, we can see a lot of the internal components from the outside. We're definitely going to want to keep this thing away from the rain. Or humans, as we'll come to find out. The camera has an extremely small sensor, which is expected at this price point. The battery is removable from the back, and she has a big old power button on the front. Side note, the battery is incredibly small and light. All things considered, she looks alright. She looks like she's going to sail the south coast of England just fine.
So I just went out to fly it, and then I remembered I didn't actually charge it. I have no idea if this thing is charged. Maybe it turns a different colour. So I also can't for the life of me figure out where I'm going to put this SD card. There's a button here that you can press down. I've since done that and now it just stays down. But I can't find a bloody entrance point. The axis is done manually, which is, I mean, expected. There's also a screw missing here, and I can push this whole unit forward. I have no idea. Maybe that's where the SD card goes. I don't want to rip it off because this thing is made of paper. Now, oh, that is not what we were looking to do. There's also this wire. I have no idea. Why is it a wire? Look, you can actually see the chip.
Whilst I let her charge, I figured I'd bust out my DJI Mini 2. This thing is only 4K and way more expensive. So, with utter disdain, given my newfound bargain, I took her for a spin, just so we could have a reference point for the footage. I must say, the power of this little thing in sport mode is pretty epic. As you can see, she holds nicely in the wind. She stabilizes well during flight, and with the gimbal mechanism, which unfortunately we are missing on our deal of the century, it allows us to get some quite dramatic movements, such as these parallaxes, which is where we're keeping the subject in the center of the frame whilst rotating around it, which in effect allows the subject to remain still and in focus. This is to create some drama. Michael Bay is very famous for using this technique. Fundamentally, she can do everything the more professional drones can do. She just does all of them a bit worse. You don't want to be pixel peeping on this 4K image, but at a distance, it's still going to look good. She's an absolute beast, and I love her. Let's get on with the show.
Oh, update. It went green. Problem solved. We are ready to rock. Although we still have no idea where the SD card slot is.
You'll find the app for the killer drone by scanning the barcode in the manual. And just like walking in to a beautiful palace, you'll be greeted with some wonderful reviews. Avoid, at all costs, by downloading this app, you're almost certainly compromising national security. But you know what? It's a bargain. So to connect with the phone, you'll need to go onto Wi-Fi, where you'll be proudly greeted by its 8K sensor. So I spent a fair amount of time trying to get the controller to connect, but as we mentioned earlier, there is no button. For example, on the DJI systems, there is a cable which goes into your phone, and then that allows it to connect. I couldn't find any Wi-Fi signal. It didn't inherently connect to the controller. However, the app does have built-in joysticks, and given the gleaning reviews, I figured, why not? And so I figured, unlike with the DJI, I'd constrain us to the local tennis court. There's a lot of dogs around, which is definitely suboptimal, seeing as I've already hindered national security. Let's try not to kill a dog. And so, as you'll see with this show of a sequence, I made a lot of bad life choices. However, constraining us to a tennis court is probably the smartest thing I will have done throughout my life. The app mimics a lot of what you'd expect. It looks relatively similar to DJI's. It's not particularly intuitive, but eventually once you get the joystick open on the phone, you have the choice to jet off. Typically on the DJI system, you hold that down, you do a swipe, or you hold it down for a couple seconds, and then it's going to slowly rise and it's going to stay there. And then you can choose where to put it. However, with this beast, you're going to just press the button, and instead of just going up, it's going to charge. Alright, so I set it up, I figured out how to make it fly, and it doesn't hold in the same place like your conventional drone does. So we've immediately crashed it into the side, which is why we're in the tennis court to begin with. Fun fact, it doesn't record on an SD card. The mechanism is that it will allow you to record straight onto your phone from the device. It looks like it still works. We're going to need to be much smarter here. So I'm going to need to kind of pull back immediately on the app. I'm going to need to immediately pull back. Right, that's not working. We're going straight into the, yeah. So the plan is I'm just going to let it go up, and then I'm going to run with this camera so you can see the epic death. Look, she does fly, and she's going to die. Goodbye. Oh, that one really didn't sound good. All right, this time I'm going to get in front of it, and then you can see me before it crashes. Yeah, that last crash, it caught some air, and if it goes over that fence, it's an absolute free-for-all in this area. All right. Can we see me? I'll tell you what. We're going to give this thing some serious credit because it does two things well. Firstly, when it's in the air, it's got that inspiring sound. It's definitely maintaining itself in the air despite its lack of direction. And secondly, she can take a beating. I mean, I just consistently boom, 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 boom. This thing got smashed 16 times in total. Half of the time I didn't even hit record on the camera or on the drone, so it just got abused. Although it claims a 3-kilometer range, when you move more than about 5 meters from the device, it struggles to connect and it will freeze on the screen. And so for the biggest shock and reveal of the century, 8K is a load of bollocks. As expected, of course. I mean, at this point, all I can do is apologise. I feel like I probably could have really spent the time to figure out how to negate the initial blast into death, but, I mean, come on. I'd really like to figure it out and get this thing flying a little bit. Show what the image can do when it's seeing a big landscape. I figured, you know what, I need to know. I do live on the south coast of England. It is a bit windy, and it's only fair if we give this drone a chance against no wind to see if it can maintain its access in any sense. Even if it veers a little bit, we can accept that. So I busted it out in the living room. I just can't not. This is so stupid, and I'm definitely going to smash into something. Hopefully not my softbox. This is going to go so wrong. Okay. Oh, straight at me. All right, that's not good. Okay, right. Oh God, okay. So this is me attempting to show you that I'm trying to use the joystick, and then, yeah, this happened. Right, oh. Ah! So we have verified When you move the dial, it does move a little bit, but it is, I mean, basically impossible to meaningfully guide that, particularly through a small room without killing yourself, and get any direction. I've got to say, this thing is basically unflyable. I'm as deflated as this drone is, which is still alive and fully functional, by the way. But we have to appreciate the fact that this thing, you bend its legs back in place, and she just keeps going. I cannot seem to break this device. And she does fly well. I have crashed my DJI, and as soon as it gets in contact with anything, there is a high probability that you're going to batter that thing or injure it for life. So you know what? I think the fact that this thing has no weight and no real construction is actually quite durable. And it's like the best but worst thing ever. It clearly has the bones to fly and to do some damage, but it's missing, you know, the steering wheel. Like, it's £15. Obviously, it's a joke. And usually, at this point, I go, you know what? It works. And it does. But it also kind of doesn't work. It's like the £30 camera. If you're interested in that video, I've got a £30 versus £4,000 filmmaking camera, and that camera would just spontaneously turn off. It corrupted the file, and we have the exact same problem with this device. However, it's half the price of that camera, and it's also a flying, spinning, killing machine. So when the £30 camera decides to die, it's just an inconvenience. But when this thing decides it doesn't know where to go, you might get your head chopped off. But that's kind of the thrill that you're paying for in my head. That's there you go. That is the use case of this thing. If you want to have a fun party, if you feel like potentially injuring yourself and being like, I can't believe this thing's 15 quid and I can still fly it, get it.